Hey, welcome to Steph's World number 41. I got it right this time. I know I do. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. It's almost Valentine's Day. And, I see a lot of Valentine stuff out on the web and everything. And some of the things that, those cutesy little things that are said. When you read that stuff, you realize it stays in your head, and it almost kind of, how do I put this? It's almost like, it convinces you that that is what love is all about. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example. I saw one today, and it's something about if you need them, then you don't really love them. But if you love them, then you need them. Okay, something like that. Well, let's talk about love, first of all. Okay? Hey, guess what I got? Dictionary! Hey, I never went anywhere without this son of a gun. Just ask some of my friends, okay? Alright, let's look old love up here. I know I've done it because I wrote a huge document about love and balance and all kinds of stuff for us, healthy things for us, okay? Let's find hey, immaturity's in there. That's for another day, believe me. I know you're in there. Come on. Here we go. Now, love, 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 love. Okay, love. We got a couple of definitions of love, all right? Oh, my hair, good Lord. Okay, strong affection, warm attachment, okay? Number 3, attraction based on sexual desire. That's an interesting part. Well, we're going to talk about that too. Number 4, a beloved person. That's a good one right there. Beloved. Beloved. Those words tell you right there the depth of the love. Okay? Beloved. Okay, now, and then we have cherish. That's a good one too. To feel a passion, devotion, or tenderness for. Caress. To take pleasure in. Now, nowhere in these definitions do I see anything about needy. Nowhere. Not one area. And there's a darn good reason for that. Let's look up needy. How about that idea? Okay, let's just look that one up too. I'm a lookup person. I don't believe in just, coming up with my own definitions. I like to get the real thing. So needy, and I already pretty much know what this is going to tell us, but I think it needs to be said. Needy, need, Okay, we've got several needs here. Let's see if we can, here we go, needy. Now, you're going to love this. You're just going to love this. Needy, being in want, poverty-stricken, needy, being in want. Is that love? I don't think so. Now, need means several things too. A lack of something requisite, desirable, or useful. A lack of. A lack of. Pay attention, okay? It's not done yet. A condition requiring supply or relief. Poverty, necessity, let's see, to be in want, oh boy, to have cause or occasion for, require, to be under obligation or necessity, needful, necessary, requisite. I'm going to tell you right now, all those songs that we hear about, and I'm so in love, and he needs me, and I need him, that's crap. That's crap. It's indoctrination. We've been listening to that kind of crap for how many years? Every generation. So imagine what it's done to us. When we love someone, they're our beloved. They are our beloved. They're not our needy person. I have a picture of my mother on the cell phone getting a Valentine's gift that I sent her yesterday. My mother looks old, very old. But you know what? She looks happy. And every single day, my father and my sister, my younger sister, go over and they see my mother every day. And my sister takes care of her. My mother wears partial dentures, so she cleans her teeth for her. She massages her feet. She does her hair as best she can. She takes care of our mother. My mother used to be about as dark-skinned as they come, but something happened. She's real light-skinned now. I never saw her like that in my life. This is a first. But I've heard older people, that's what happens to them, especially when they're real sick. And my mother's real sick. Now, when my mother got real sick, guess what? My dad didn't leave her. My dad didn't try to get rid of her. He did everything in his power to stay with her. He tried to help her in every way he could, and there were times when it was so tough on him. Yes, he might have done some things that he probably regrets, but who can blame him? He was dealing with a woman who was so sick that she couldn't remember things from minute to minute. Alzheimer's is like that. It can be pretty awful. But one thing it does do, I think it's a soul sickness. I've talked about that before. And I believe that there are times when we're not speaking to that person anymore. We're talking to a deeper level. We're talking to their soul. That's why they have these memories that we can't figure out where they came from. Nobody knows. And just out of the blue come out and say something that doesn't make any sense to us. But have you ever listened to a child? Children do the same thing. That doesn't mean they're sick, does it? Some people don't know what it means, but I think I do. I think it's their soul. It's on top. Let's put it this way. Try to look at it this way. The soul in a child is there, right there. I mean, whew, right there. I mean, I can feel it. Ooh, man, I can feel it. Okay. But then we have the mind and the body there too. So they're there together. Okay? Remember that little girl I told you about that lives across the street or next door to me? Oh man, she is so beautiful and so wonderful. And I can feel her soul. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. When she was littler, and she's a little thing as it is, she used to do this to me. She wanted her neighbor Steph to pick her up so bad. And the only thing I can do is to try to get on my knees and hug her, which is what I did. Now, children are not attached to everybody. Ever notice that? I've watched it with my own children. Sometimes they would be leery of someone. They really didn't want much to do with someone. They just got bad vibes. That's the soul working big time. See, the soul's got to protect that little person in the beginning. Now, when a person gets Alzheimer's, I think in a way it works a lot of the same way, but in a different way. The soul's there more because this person is preparing to leave. They're in preparation. And we know. We're not going to be, I hope we're not going to be overly upset. Not like when my child died. When my child passed, that was a shock. It was a real shock. 34 years old, you just never, well, we shouldn't expect anything, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, I guess we do. And even though he was in the Army, I still never felt like he was in danger. But I didn't really know what he was doing for the Army. My son liked to protect me. He loved me. So he would protect me. Children can be that way. And he was. He was one loving human being. But anyway, so here we got Valentine's Day, and we got, I need you, blah, blah, blah. That's horrible. Horrible. What I would like to see are hearts with devotion and the stuff that I just read to you that love really means. that I'm not going to just drop you when you get sick, that I'm not going to treat you bad when you get, if you got in an accident and you can't function normally anymore, that I'm not going to walk away from you when that happens. I'm going to stick it out with you because I love you through thick and thin. Okay, now, I guess I covered love pretty good. Now, I'm going to get on to some other things. Remember how I talk about women who run with wolves? I told you I found the book. Okay, this is by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. She's a PhD. A deeply spiritual book. She honors what is tough, smart, and untamed in women. She venerates the female soul. When I read this, that's, to be honest with you, when I read it was when I put the rose around my wolf. You betcha. It was because of this book. Okay, I want to read you something. This is mainly about women, all right? But it can be about men too. Don't think for 1 minute that men do not go through the same thing women do, because I believe they do. It may not show up like the same, but it is there. Now, she talks about metaphors, okay? We all know what metaphors are, right? Okay, I don't have to look that up for you. Now, these metaphors are loosely based on empirical experience and observation, developmental psychology, and phenomena found in creation myths. This book is full of examples, parables, kind of like what Jesus the Christ would do. Okay? She did it a lot the same way. It made it a little easier to understand the concepts that she was bringing to the table. Now, she says here that all of which contain many old traces of human psychology. These phases are not meant to be tied inexorably to chronological age, for some women in 80 are still in developmental young maidenhood, and some women at age 40 are in the psychic world of the mist beings, and some 20-year-olds are so battle-scarred as long-lived crones. I hate to say it, but I think I know a few of those women, and I almost became one myself. I will not deny it, not 1 minute. I was pretty battle-scarred, let me tell you. The ages are not meant to be hierarchical, but simply belong to women's consciousness and to the increase of their soul lives. Each age represents a change in attitude, a change in tasking, and a change in values. Okay, now I'm going to give you, this is going to be pretty interesting. Okay, 0 to 7. Age of the body and dreaming. Socialization, yet retaining imagination. Now, what have I been talking about? About that little girl next door. And she's got a brother, and boy, he's just wide-eyed. He is checking things out. Okay? 7 to 14. Age of separation or separating, yet weaving together reason and the imaginal. 14 to 21. Age of a new body, young maidenhood, unfurling, yet protecting sensuality. Let's hope we do. Let's hope we do. You know, when a young woman dips into that sexuality a little too early, that is part of what causes a lot of our problems when we try to raise our children. Believe me, it is. And how do I know? Because I dipped into it a little too early. And I did the best I could with what I knew and what I had. But I definitely had issues raising my children. Now, they weren't as bad as some women, but they weren't easy. Things were not easy in our household, but I did the best I could. All right, 21 to 28. Age of new world, new life, exploring the worlds. Okay, age 28 to 35. Age of the mother, learning to mother others and self. How about that? We should be mothering ourselves at some point in our lives. In our lives. It's okay. In fact, we need to do it. Okay. 42 to 49. Age of early crone, finding the far encampment, giving courage to others. All right. So it's time for us to start giving the wisdom that we are hopefully beginning to learn. It's time. Okay. 49 to 56. This is a goodie. I love this one. Age of the underworld. Learning the words and rights. During that age for me was precisely what I was doing. What is described in here. I was learning a whole new world. I had to open up my mind to a new form of spirituality. I had to learn that things were okay. That things that I had been taught early in life had to be let go. That I had to learn new things. That I had to open up my mind for these new things. Now, I believe that we can start a lot earlier with people. See, we can apply this to men too. Don't think it's just for women. Okay, 56 to 63. Age of choice. Choosing one's world and the work yet to be done. Well, that's where I'm at right now. And I'm choosing my world. And I can feel it. I am choosing my world. And I am making decisions on the work left to do. I have a book that's half done that I need to finish. I need to finish it. There's no question about that. It's important. It's not like this, but it tells a story of a woman and her family, and the good that can come from faith and love in a God, a creator. So I need to finish that book. Now, 63 to 70, the age of becoming watchwoman, recasting all one has learned. Whoa, we go through it again. We're going to go through that again. We're going to throw out. We're going to recast it. We're going to re-look at it again. We're going to check it out. We never stop learning throughout our lives. Never. Okay. 70 to 77. Age of re-euthanization, more chromedom. We're getting older, but re-euthanization. 77 to 84, age of the mist beings. Finding more big in the small. Believe it or not, I do understand that concept, but I'm not there yet. That's my yes. 84 to 91. Age of weaving with the scarlet thread, understanding the weaving of life. Now, I believe that sometimes that understanding comes when a person has Alzheimer's. I think that changes when they have Alzheimer's. I see it in my mother very deeply. I see it. She never forgets who I am, not ever. In fact, if she doesn't talk to me during the week, she becomes very upset. So, hopefully her soul will decide that it's okay to move on pretty soon. She has heart disease too. Pretty darn bad. Okay. 91 to 98. Woo! Age of the ethereal. Less to say, more to be. I remember my grandmother. She lived to be 103. She hardly spoke anymore. And she was like me. She was heavy duty into politics. She was a lot like me. I took after her. I definitely took after her. That was the Irish side of me. But when she got to be this age, Grandma hardly ever talked. And all she wanted to do, she wanted to hear, anytime she saw me, she wanted to hear about my angel stories. and I would tell her about it, and she would love it. Okay, 98 to 105, age of pneuma, the breath. And 105 plus, age of timelessness. Now, not everybody goes through these cycles. I want you to remember that. Not everyone does. And that's where we get into us coming back in life here. I think I've read a little bit about this the other day. Oh yeah, here's some more of I have some stuff here that I'd like to read, but okay, let's talk about loving ourselves. Y'all love yourself? Come on. Do you? Do you look in the mirror and see a pretty face or a handsome face and say, oh, I love me? You think I'm kidding? Well, I'm not. Let me tell you something. If you don't love yourself, how do you expect to love anyone else? How can you love anyone else? See, that's where that needy stuff comes from. Because you haven't learned how to love you. You haven't realized that you're lovable. You don't have to be needy. You can be lovable. I am. I'm very lovable. Some people might disagree, but they haven't been around me recently either. And sometimes you got to look at yourself. Maybe they're not looking at me, they're looking at themselves. That's another conversation. But the point here is that how can we love someone else if we don't love ourselves? How? I'd like someone to tell me that. We ought to be giving Valentines to ourselves first, and then move on to someone else. That's what we really ought to be doing. We ought to give ourselves love. Reward ourselves when we actually do something good for ourselves. When we read a book, when we write a story, when we paint a picture. Reward yourself for doing that. Find some way to reward yourself. You did something good. Okay. Now, one of the things that Emmett talks about in his Inner Power book, it says, sentiment slaves. Sentiment is usually a shortcut to unhappiness and failure. It is more deadly than poison gas, more cruel than the Inquisition, more subtle than self-love. Now, self-love in this case is not the same, okay? Sentiment really means pretending. It means making believe that an emotion that is really dead is still alive. It means pretending that something is fine or joyous or worthwhile, when in fact it is none of these things. Thus it means a waste of time, a waste of soul substance that is lavished upon a lie. Worst of all, sentiment shuts us off from the realization of good in the present moment. Sentiment usually pretends that some happiness is lost beyond recall, or else it persuades us to worship an unreal abstraction of some kind on the ground that actual conditions are not worth caring about. Live in the present and let the dead past bury its dead. Live in today, right now. Stop living way back when. Let go of that past. Now. Come on, let's go. Let's move on. Remember what I said, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. Okay? So, no good thing that ever existed is out of reach when you understand the spiritual nature of being. That's capitalized, by the way. See to it that today and tomorrow are filled with beauty and joy. All right? Beauty and joy. Remember, oh, and you can do this through treatment. Now, he calls meditation and praying treatment. All right? I want you to remember that. Remember that people never sentimentalize over present good. They enjoy it and thereby glorify God. When they sentimentalize, it is always for something supposedly out of reach. No good experience is out of your reach because God Himself is with you. He's with you. God is with you right now. Now, I'm going to read something else to you. And this is going to blow your mind, but it's in the Bible. I got news for you. Elvis here. Sorry. Okay, this is the glorious truth. And it is the most wonderful and beautiful thing you could ever discover. It is a door of liberation. It is your charter of freedom, your passport to fullness of life. It means nothing less than your destiny is in your own hands, and that you may determine that destiny, that you may really make your future life, beginning today, the sort of thing that you wish it to be. You can change it right now. It's up to you. You have choices. Use them. Follow your heart. You arrived in this world as a tiny baby, unconscious, and then came consciousness with the first breath. And then your new life had begun. Probably the first thing that happened to you when you came into the world was that they spanked you. And in most cases, until you know the law and practice it, the world will go on spanking you until the very end, until nature gets tired of you and turns you out. You came into the world with a cry. With the very first breath you drew, you gave a cry. And many people spend their whole lives crying and protesting, right down to the grave. When, however, you understand that this present life is only one day in your long life, and that at the change called death, you simply disappear onto the next plane to come back again later on. Then the events of this particular life appear in their true proportion, and then you begin to have dominion. The events of this life will not appear less important because of your new knowledge, but they will no longer intimidate you, because you will know that you can control them. You have a choice. You have all kinds of choices. No seeming misfortune will any longer have power to break your heart or weaken your courage. You will understand life as the wondrous opportunity and the glorious gift that it is. Okay, well, my friend's going to be mad at me because it went way beyond what I was supposed to, but sorry, Dave. Such is life. Happy Valentine's Day. You're all my beloved. When I say I love you, you are my beloved. I love you. And may the light be with you.